There's no question that software excellence is a fundamental requirement for the success of the land mobile product sector. We estimate that in the next few years, over half of our revenues could be derived from the value of the software in our systems. And as the hardware in the systems become more computer or computer-like, they'll become a commodity. The real value in the system will be in the software. It will be software that will differentiate our products and give us that product superiority, the technology superiority that has always been our hallmark. Our customers today are not buying systems, they're buying networks, and it will be software that will be tailoring those networks to meet his needs. But we know time is of the essence. We know our competitors recognize this issue, and we know they are searching for the same competency we are. We must move quickly, we must surpass them. We know that this issue is recognized by the engineers who are writing the software, and we also know that it's recognized at the top of the corporation. What we must do is from top to bottom get the realization that the software solution is needed, and it's needed now in LMPS.
Motorola has a vision of change, a vision to become the world's premier software company by the year 1998. This video presents the thoughts of many within this sector who intend to transform that vision into reality. For it is one thing to see the horizon, it is another to reach it.
The strategy side for the sector is that we're trying to push forward on so many different fronts at once right now that we can't possibly resource all of the opportunities that we've got if we don't try and find better, different, more dynamic ways of doing things. I mean, I've characterized the strategy that we're following of up, down, and out, going up in markets with larger, more complex systems and network solutions, down into consumer markets with smaller, cheaper, lighter, more consumer-friendly radios, and out in terms of more geographic markets, more application markets. And we've got to do that with no more resources than we've got now, and probably fewer. And if we're to be able to win on all of those fronts at once, we've got to find ways of making our products, our processes, our approaches to business a whole lot more flexible than they are now. And at the center of that kind of flexibility, software derivatives rather than hardware and hardware derivatives are an essential part of our strategy.
But if we are to be successful, like with the state of Michigan, we really have to rethink the concept and start pushing very aggressively the separation of software and hardware. And it has major impact not only on technologists and developers, how they're going to separate it, but on everything what we do inside the company.
And we've got to be able to offer the customer more on each one of those fronts than we've done in the past. And that almost by definition is going to put a lot more of the value in the content and the software of what we're offering rather than the hardware of what we're offering.
And the key is to enlarge this audience which utilizes these tremendous tools and powerful ingredients which enhance us or moves us to this software environment, to sort of spread it through the organization that everybody capitalizes on that investment which we have made.
Not to succeed is really not to participate in one of the most evolutionary, dynamic change in the way the world does things, and our customers do things. And software is really not limited to communications. It's going to impact every aspect of our lives. It has done so already.
Motorola's vision of tomorrow has no bounds nor borders. It encompasses the entire Earth, where people freely exchange ideas, talents, and resources in one vast marketplace. It is a vision where our home is the world.
Software is developing across the global enterprise very rapidly. So in fact, software is going to be a very strong international competitive factor going forward. And those that do not develop the software content in their products and the software competence are going to lose.
I was just last week or 2 ago in 3 different countries, and you can see these minds standing there working on computers, creating very specific application software that reduces amount of work or amount of attention an individual has to give to that aspect of the process, that we have to be working ahead of these the teams all over the world, because they are there, they are thinking the same thing, they are getting better at those things. Chinese, Indians, you name it, they are there.
We have common products coming at different application markets in different languages, in different kind of regulatory environments, and we can't possibly meet all of the customer regulatory country-specific requirements if we have to come up with individual products for each one of those markets. So again, trying to handle complexity and flexibility, we've got to be able to customize our radios, our products and our services through software rather than trying to come up with a unique product for every unique market that we're going to try and compete in.
Change, lacking purpose, initiates chaos. Whirlwinds of activity everywhere, yet leading nowhere. Why this initiative? What is its purpose, its goal? Providing customers total solutions.
The goal is customer satisfaction, reducing our cycle time, and et cetera. That's our goal. That's why we're doing it. It's not just an initiative for the sake of an initiative.
Our customers expect our products to be more value added over time, which in the subscriber world means smaller, lighter, more functionality. By removing the components and replacing that functionality with software, we're able to provide greater capability while making the product cheaper and smaller. And that's what the customer values.
And flexibility, I think, is the key to customers. That's what they want to see today. And if they're going to be our customers, we're going to have to demonstrate the added value that Motorola brings through it, through software, innovative software solutions.
There's 2 elements that the dealer is concerned about. One is his business partner and how efficiently he can do business with that partner. And the other is how good his equipment is in being possible to adapt in his shop to small customer requirements.
Customers can't find more cost-effective services through our products or can't find more applications from the products that we're offering, then we're not improving and they're not gaining.
The days of seeing all the radio hardware out on display is all but over at the trade shows. Customers are looking for solutions, and they understand they've already made that transition from hardware to software. They are looking for those solutions.
The orders are getting much larger. The systems, the networks are getting much more significant, and we will have to be there with our software solutions as a total package. Motorola is expected to provide the total solution, a one-stop shopping kind of initiative.
Today we have to be expert not only at providing RF propagation analysis and coverage and system architecture from a hardware standpoint, but we also need to be very good at recognizing what the customer truly needs and in some cases helping to identify software that will support those needs, and in all cases being very sensitive to the integration of that software onto an RF platform. And that's something that's really new today.
The ability to change, to take on new forms, new shapes, new ideas, and spread them across the horizon is critical if this vision is to become reality. Such change will sweep across the sector to affect every function, every job, every person.
I think that we've made a lot of changes in the organization and in the business to focus on customers. I think we've got to put all the right kind of business processes in place and begin to line everything up all the way back through the organization to understand the requirements, come up with solutions that are going to meet those requirements, and energize the organization to be able to deliver on them, and do that sort of hundreds and hundreds of times a day all around the world. We'll be successful.
So the biggest change has to happen in management. That's my opinion, and I believe that from my perception, I will drive that change through my organization to all of those managers, that they develop those skills, they acquire them, and we're going to help whatever we need to do that. But we will also observe that they live it. They live those commitments to software.
To achieve SEI Level 3 requires a commitment on management as well as engineering to develop the processes and also institutionalize the processes associated with SEI Level 3. It doesn't come from free, but once you get there, there's a tremendous payoff. Very similar to what we saw and achieved in our drive to Six Sigma hardware quality.
Be it the way we communicate our products and their capabilities, training information, sales literature, factory ordering information, field programming software that both our dealers and our service shops use to build their basis of business for value added to the customer. Be it in our factory programming software, training information. There's a wide variety of functions that over the years we've done in a very manual fashion that software will allow us to do much more effectively and efficiently.
The use of information, how fast we can use that, how accurately we can use that, how much effort we devote to it is going to be a critical success factor in the future.
And it has to be like with quality, that kind of discipline which is permeated by the management and through the management layers, that we're going to say, okay, so where are you with software? What is the productivity? How did you increase? What SEI level are you? What are the plans there? What are the investments? What tool do you use? What's the efficiency of force? And when we start living these things by asking, managing, and doing it, we're going to succeed. And we are committed to do that. We are doing it now.
It is very important that we provide the customer the right controls, the right processes to make sure that he's getting everything from his equipment that he expects and should demand. And that entails a major change as far as the processes we use both in the manufacturing environment but also in the field in the aftermarket support of the customer's equipment.
We used to do a lot of plug and play where a technician could take 2 years of technical training and learn how to do troubleshooting from the vantage point of unplugging a board and putting in another board. Now they're going to have to be more sensitive to understanding some variety of application software coupled with some operations software.
The day-to-day things aren't the problem. The real issue is when things go wrong. With whole hardware systems that two parts didn't go together, it was pretty obvious. And it was pretty clear the types of issues and types of steps that had to be taken. With new software systems, it's not so obvious when things aren't working. It takes a lot more skill and just a different skill set to be able to look at a software problem and understand where to go from there.
You can change instantaneously from what something does with a simple change in one line of code. That has an impact on a financial clerk who's trying to close the books, or it has an impact on someone who's trying to determine what our pricing strategy is when it has no relationship to the amount of money it costs us to manufacture anymore.
In a software-oriented business, there are different levels of investment and different measurements that are necessary to track those levels of investment than there are in a hardware business.
We've come from back in the 60s where we had a very labor-intensive process and tracking labor costs as well as material costs into tracking purely material costs, and everything else becomes an overhead cost or a non-controllable cost. And we are now struggling with the issues of how do we go into a world where 99% of our costs will be soft costs or overhead costs.
And so you can't use the same measurements and you can't run the same business in the same way.
Motorola is essentially to date a hardware company with a software platform. We're moving into being a software platform riding on a hardware platform. It's just the reverse. And those assets need to be protected, and their protection is done in a different fashion than in the past. Basically, patents are still good, but things like copyright and trade secrets are becoming more and more important.
We've been through a significant amount of change in both the distribution as well as marketing organization here in LMPS for the last few years. That change is going to continue. The pace, I believe, is going to pick up.
Now what that really means is today's engineer, today's communication systems engineer really needs to be much broader in his scope and in his vision, and think out of the box and really be solutions oriented as opposed to hardware or box oriented.
There won't be anyone in the organization who's not only exposed, but interacting with computer systems on a daily basis, in fact, hourly basis. The systems that we have for manufacturing are that way. We're barcoding, computer tracking everything. Every single person is going to get involved with that.
So new concepts will permeate throughout the whole organization, whether it is from finance, whether it is from marketing, whether it is in engineering, obviously. But most phenomenal change has to happen in the selling organization.
The margins that are be associated with the hardware will continue to erode. And so therefore, to stay in business and truly be profitable, we have to sell and market our software as a separate product.
It's a lot harder selling a download of a software program than it is selling a portable radio.
Our sales force is going to have to become fluent in discussing software and the marketing of software. Our product operations, our marketing people are going to have to develop the right kinds of marketing materials and packaging of those products to allow the sales force to adapt to that change.
That's what we're all about in the distribution. When we sit in front of that customer, that's what we're gonna fail or we're gonna succeed, and obviously we intend to succeed.
Singular goals and shared efforts pose personal challenges, individual responsibilities. The strength of the group forms from the might of each entity.
I would have to say the biggest single challenge we face is the people involvement in this whole process. Unfortunately, as the world is a very perfect place until you put people in it, and it gets very imperfect very fast.
Our people come first. We place a big value on our people, and we have very strong contributors that are not in the software discipline that we might not know what to do with them as we move forward with this initiative. So how do we take these very good employees that we've had here, how do we develop them, how do we put them in the right place, how do we make them feel that they're valued and they can still contribute in the company?
We've accepted the challenges and new distribution methods. We accepted the challenge in new product environment. And I think our challenge is to get people understanding software, comfortable with it, so that we can move into that arena.
That's a personal challenge, I think, to every individual, to look at what they're doing now, how fast they are growing, and if they feel like they have stopped growing, to kind of get back on and re-energize themselves to start growing again, just to keep up with the amount of information that's being developed in the world.
We're going to have to provide a lot of training. We're going to have to provide training, we're going to have to provide tools in how to use software for the software community.
We're going to have to upgrade those skill sets and spend some time sending our people back to school. I think that that will be the only way that we'll be able to keep up with the new technologies that are being released.
In some sense, that's going to be a voyage of discovery, that we're going to make mistakes and we've got to learn from the mistakes, and we've got to adapt, and we've got to keep pushing forward.
That's a challenge I think every individual has to step up to and look at how do they get themselves out of their current box, their current environment, their current ways of doing things.
This is hard. This is not easy.
But I think we have to have faith in the systems, have faith in the people. Part of that is that we have to give people the opportunity to take these chances, take these risks, without the fear of failure or perceived failure.
So you require an atmosphere where you can develop the processes, be trained and learn on the tools and the methods, and then be creative and apply those in a way that best meets the customers and the market's needs.
1998 and beyond lay just over the horizon. It presents but a vision today of promise for tomorrow. Yet Motorola will realize that vision, that single goal, through the shared efforts of many within LMPS. It has already started.
I think one thing that's important to realize, though, is if you look across the corporation, whereas 5 years ago, a lot of people were saying, well, it sounds good, but I don't know how to do that. If you look across the corporation now, there are areas that actually have some very substantial success stories. People have gotten past the first steps, and it's working for them.
There are lots of positive things happen. You know, I didn't mention these things, but we have started to buy tools. I now measure in our organization, for example, how much per productive worker in our organization, how much in dollars we spend on software tools to enhance his capability. And you would be surprised, we are spending over $50,000 per guy or girl in the development organization. So the numbers are staggering. We are committed. We paid the money to do that.
In other words, we've already shifted the number of engineers that are working on software versus the number on hardware. Currently, there's only 15% of the engineers that are left working on hardware.
On the process front, we have committed to reaching SCI level 3 by the end of the year, and we've committed to getting to SCI level 5 by the end of next year. This is going to be a stretch, but we think it's doable, and it's going to be a lot of fun trying to make it there.
We started unbundling some of our software from our hardware in terms of networks and flashport initiatives.
Let's take the physical design organization. They have solid modeling. That's software. What's that allow us to do? It allows us to turn around product in 2 weeks where it would take us months before.
We now have the capability to provide a whole new generation of wireless software solutions that we could never provide before.
For example, in the state of Michigan, we recently received a $187 million award for a multi-zone communication system, and 5 years ago, that kind of system didn't exist.
I think we have an edge in hardware, we have an edge in our Six Sigma quality, we have edge in our discipline and training. We have probably the finest training institution among many, many American corporations, in fact, corporations in the world.
If you look at the industry, there is no other manufacturer that has the full power that Motorola does. And when I say power, I'm really talking about the capacity to identify a customer's requirements, to analyze them, to pull together all the right pieces, whether it's hardware, software, identify the interfaces, and bring them together and test them and assure that they fully meet the customer's needs. We're the only people that can do that. And I don't see anybody else getting any closer to us. I mean, we're leaving them further behind every year.
For me, the vision is, I guess, one of magic. If I look at the software solutions, the opportunities that we have, the people haven't changed. It's the same spirit, the same view of trying to work together, respect for each other, trying to make it happen, and really believe in doing the job right.
So who couldn't be enthusiastic about that? Who couldn't think that that's a positive thing?
So, am I positive about 98? Absolutely, but it will be blood, sweat, and tears, as Churchill said. Maybe the other way around. But we're going to get there.
I'm not minimizing the seriousness. I'm not minimizing the required effort and required commitment. What I'm saying is, I think people will rise to that challenge. So let's go with it.